Hello everyone, welcome to At America. My name is James, one of the e-guides here at America, and we welcome our audience members joining us online. We hope that you're doing well and staying safe. At America is the United States Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. In this episode, we'll be having the Super Bowl 55 review. But before we begin, let's break the ice with a little game. I have here a question for all audience members. That question is, true or false, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the first NFL team to play in the Super Bowl in their home stadium? Stay tuned until the end of this program because we'll be giving a live shout out to whoever can answer correctly on our social medias. I'd also like to let all our audience members know that as continuation of our 10th anniversary celebration and Black History Month in February, we here at America are holding an activity along with one giveaway, and that giveaway is an iPhone 12 Pro. So if you're interested, stay tuned until the end of this program to find out on how to join this giveaway. Other than that, don't forget to take a selfie and tag at America's Instagram account. Now, without further ado, let me introduce everyone to one of our speakers for today, Mas Fadhil Ariq Saputra, the founder of NFL Fans Indonesia. Mas Fadhil, the stage is yours.
Oke, thank you so much, James. Eh buat pembuka ya, bagi sama gue Fadhil sekalian dan founder ya NFL Fans Indonesia, dan congrats buat Tampa Bay Buccaneers yang mengalahkan Chiefs 31-9 kemarin, dan Tom Brady, gue 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 udah bingung gue mau komentarin Brady. 7 ring loh, lebih banyak dari semua tim di NFL. Udahlah, itu di undisputed GOAT deh, udah nggak usah debat lagi siapa GOAT, dah jawabannya Tom Brady, udah nggak ada debat-debat lagi, udah Tom Brady jawabannya GOAT. Nah jadi ya kemarin Super Bowl 55 udah selesai, berarti NFL udah selesai musim 2020, berarti kita bakal libur sampai September, tapi jangan lupa nanti bulan Maret, April, Mei bakal banyak berita-berita, apalagi free agency. Wah, ini free agency bakal gila, apalagi QB carousel-nya. Watson mau kemana? Dan QB-QB lainnya yang menunggu nasibnya kayak Carson Wentz juga ya. Jadi udah, kalau gitu kita nggak pakai lama, kita bakal membahas review Super Bowl 55. Dan kalau kalian ngikutin NFL Fans Indonesia dari awal, pasti kan tahu OG squad kita kan podcastnya. Ada gue, Fadhil Ohio, sama Thufeil. Nah, sekarang we are back. Wey, Fadhil Ohio dan Thufeil.
Halo.
Apa kabar?
What's up?
Wah, Fadhil Ohio dulu. Fadhil Ohio, apa kabar Fadhil Ohio?
I'm good. Makasih banget buat Amerika udah ngundang gue untuk acara kali ini. Kabar gue baik, alhamdulillah. Over to Thufeil lah. Kan Thufeil yang udah lama.
Thufeil akhirnya balik lagi. Thufeil, gimana? Rumah sehat, Fel?
Alhamdulillah baik. Terima kasih
baik,
juga
baik,
buat
baik.
udah mengundang kita semua di sini.
Melihat mantan berdua bikin 2 touchdown, gimana reaksinya?
Ya tentunya ada rasa kangen sih ngelihat
Kangen.
dua pemain yang udah mendeliver multiple championship buat tim kesukaan gue, New England Patriots, dan melakukannya in the biggest stage di Super Bowl 55 kemarin. Ada terasa nostalgia dikit, cuma I'm happy for them, great championship for them. Anyway, I'm happy pokoknya.
Okay, and last but not least, we have again right here Mark Neighbors. Mark, how are you?
Hello, everybody. Oh, so good to see you guys again. Wow, what a weekend.
Yeah. So starting from now, I will speak in English, but last but not least, gue ngomong bahasa Indonesia dikit dulu. Jangan lupa tanya buat kalian yang nonton di YouTube, di Instagram, di Twitter, di Facebook, tanya aja di komen live streamingnya, karena kalau pertanyaan kalian terpilih buat kita jawab, 3 pertanyaan yang menarik, ada hadiahnya. Nah, hadiahnya apa? Nanti aja pas Q&A gue kasih tau ya hadiahnya. Jadi jangan lupa tanya, gak usah malu-malu nanya, ngapain sih malu-malu zaman sekarang ya. Jadi langsung aja tanya. Jadi yaudah, kalau gitu I'm switching back to English. So, we are going to start the review of Super Bowl 55. Fadhil Ohio, Buccaneers 31-9. At first, NFL made this match up, hype up ya. Mahomes versus Brady. The GOAT versus baby GOAT. But turns out the match itself seems kind of Yeah, just like another regular season match, isn't it? What do you think?
I don't think it's necessarily, like a regular season game. There's a lot of festivities around the game itself. I think it was a great game. It was a great weekend overall. I think the match hype kind of get lost a little bit because the end score didn't necessarily reflect like all the hype that the games are getting, before. But I think it was still a great game. As for the game itself, I think it's not necessarily when we look at the box score. We look at it and kind of it's kind of a blowout. But when we kind of watch it, live, and then you kind of follow it from the start, you kind of get the feeling that early on that both teams are struggling to move the ball. I mean, like 3-4 drives, nothing happening. Defense are really like putting their stamp on the game. We kind of really felt like, oh, this is the championship game. Defense wins championship, and early on, both defensive coordinators kind of trade blows, Spags and also Bowles, called blitz, whatnot, sticky coverage from both sides. So it was interesting early on because when we kind of see it live, we kind of see it's like, where's all this explosive offense that we were talking about before?
Yeah,
because it was pretty hype. It has Mahomes, it has Ariq Hill, it has Kelsey. On the other side, we has obviously the GOAT, himself.
Yep.
We had Mike Evans, we had Antonio Brown, we had Gronk. There's no point early on. It was not until I think a little bit sketchy calls, a little bit penalties going on, and then the Bucks kind of rolled on, and then they just keep scoring. It was really interesting to see that, and on the other side, I think the Chiefs kind of gets on a little bit late. I think they got something going like early third quarter, but I think at the time, it's a little bit too far away, and then I think the Bucks kept on pressuring Mahomes. He had to ran all game long.
Yeah.
He had to scramble a bit here, scramble there. He still played great. When we kind of looked at it, there was, I think, at least like 2 or 3 drop touchdowns. Yeah. There was the one that was the picture was all over the internet. The one that he kind of had to jump and then he kind of had to sidearms it toward the end zone. The ball was like hitting the receivers like in the hands and then through the hands to face.
Yeah. Man.
It was a drop ball, and then there was one earlier. I think it was first or second quarter that he was also moving around, evading the rushers, and then he was chucking it downfield. Hit Ariq Hill of all people. We know he was a great great receiver, but he hit him in the hand, and then he hit him through the hands, and then he hit him in the face. I was like, oh, okay. When I saw like that, and then we saw, I think early on also Kelsey had a couple of drops. I thought, in my heart, oh, this game is over. I think like when you had your best players not showing up during the biggest game all year long, you don't have a chance. I think like every game, like every other Super Bowls, your stars had to, play great. Brady and Gronk played great. On the other side, I think Mahomes played great, but his teammates, that's another story. At least that's for me.
Okay. So I read a lot of netizens reaction of Super Bowl 55 match, and a lot of them say that Chiefs offensive line was dismantled by Buccaneers defense. Well, what do you think, Fadhil?
For me, at least, early on, it didn't show up because I think, Bowles kind of held back a little bit. He opted for man coverage on the outside, 2 safeties highs. We kind of see early on, like Mahomes ran for a couple of times for a first down. And we kind of see that early on, so we kind of see like Mahomes being able to stay in the pocket, the rush kind of gets to him a little bit late, but he kind of be able to wiggle a little bit, and then he gets out. That's early game. second quarter, third quarter, both was like getting it in, man.
Yeah.
He sent
Different.
JPP inside, Shaq Barrett inside. He ran twists, loops, and games, and then it was all hell break loose. Mahomes like had to bail out of the pocket like every single play.
Yeah.
It
Like
was
playing Madden,
yeah, it was
Come
crazy.
back,
I thought
left, right, throw.
I thought like because Chiefs had to play with the backup offensive line, all season long. They lost their right tackle early on, and then also one of their guards also early in the season because he opted out. So I thought like, hey, it might be another game without a decent O line, but seeing the game live, you can kind of really see it. You see like Vita Vea, a couple of times, he just walked those offensive lines like back to like Mahomes' lap. It was something else to see, man. Because I think he was a difference maker. Because when you see him, kind of play, he just came back. He just came back last game, right? Because he was injured middle of the season, I think, until the game before this in the championship game. He was wreaking havoc. He plays inside, he bullies the center, he plays outside, he walk back to tackles. I think like one of the biggest stories is that there's mismatch on the trenches, and it cost like the Chiefs like heavily.
Yeah, I think what surprised me a lot was I kind of figured, when I heard they got the extra injuries on the offensive line, I was like, okay, well that means first quarter, yeah, they're going to struggle because they're going to try and figure things out. But I'm just shocked because normally the Chiefs are, especially a guy like Andy Reid, is so good about it.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised, or actually quite surprised, that they didn't try and figure out some sort of different protection package or some kind of max protect to figure it out. I mean, obviously, it's easy for us to say it now, but that surprised me quite a bit. I would have figured they would have made adjustments at halftime. I mean, especially when you have an extra long halftime like you do.
Yeah, because of the show.
That they would have been like, okay, we're going to try something totally different because what we're doing is clearly not working. And then when they still came out kind of flat, it just threw me off a bit. I mean, I just think they were so sort of stunned because, like you said, I mean, they were just getting crushed in the trenches every down. That I'm sure at a certain point they were like, we don't have anything left. We're just gassed already.
Yeah,
that's sort of what I wonder if that's how it sort of happened.
Yeah. Well, at the start of the second half, Chiefs had their momentum, but all of a sudden, it was all gone because their defense, especially their linebacker and defensive line, are crushing their all line. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah. I mean, it was. Oh, yeah. Defensively, they were a big mess. I mean, I think that's one of the challenges too, is that they also failed to make adjustments. I mean, yes, I agree. Some of the penalties were, I don't know. I certainly wouldn't have called them in a game this big. I think they were a little bit too sort of ticky-tack fouls. But at the same time, when you see that that's happening, when you're like, okay, the officials are going to call this really, really tight, we have to make some adjustments. And they, once again, just didn't do that. They just kind of kept doing the same thing they were doing. I just thought, no, this is, you can't win a game like that. If you have to deal with the situation as you're faced, as opposed to how you'd want it to be. And if they're calling it tight for your guys, you just got to tell your guys to back off a little bit and adjust and do something a little bit different.
Okay. So I have a question for Fadhil and Mark Neighbors. Well, NFL and all American sports always show the next gen stats. NFL show the next gen stats that maybe for me it's the main key of Buccaneers defense stopping Mahomes is they put the safety very, very high compared to mid or close to the line of scrimmage. So, Fadil, what do you think about Todd Bowles chose the play that he put his safety higher? And for me, I think it was uh, for precaution if Tyreek Hill are running for go route, or maybe that was like last year. But what do you think, Adil?
Yeah, I think it was a great game plan. That kind of game plan also was applied by Cleveland, by my team, by the Browns, when they faced the Chiefs. We kept the two high shell, two safeties, like really high, like all game long. And it was Kelsey who murdered us, underneath. It was not necessarily, Hill breaking open for like long touchdown or whatnot. So I think the blueprint was kind of there. We just kind of, not able to send enough pressure to Mahomes. That's the difference between at least what we did and what the Bucks were able to achieve, as the end result. But yeah, it was always, for me, it was always been that kind of game plan. I was just a little bit surprised because the Bucks didn't do that when they faced each other at week 12. So Bowles really reached out to his bag of tricks. So, kudos to him.
Yeah, I have a feeling that after that first matchup, when Tyreek Hill just destroyed them, I have a feeling he probably took the defense into a room and was like, we're going to watch this film over and over again because we should not let this ever come close to happening again. And kudos to him. I mean, if they gave the MVP to coaches, I would give it to him for sure. I mean, he figured out the riddle. He was like, we know where they're weak, and we're just going to hit them there. And we're going to frustrate Tyreek Hill all day because it's going to sap their confidence because they get so much of their confidence from the fact that he's so much faster than everybody else and seems to be open all over the field. And all of a sudden, they're not letting him do anything. And then it just the frustration starts to build amongst the whole offense. And all of a sudden, they're like, shoot, we can't do what we really like to do. And it clearly worked because they got in their heads and didn't stay out of their heads for the whole match.
Yeah, and as we know, Chiefs defensive coordinator is Steve Spagnuolo, which he beat Brady when he was a defensive coordinator at Giants.
Yep.
Yeah, but Mark, what do you think about Steve Spagnuolo's defense against Brady? What went wrong?
Yeah, I mean, they started out exactly how you would think they would, making sure to try and cut off the deep plays or even a little bit of trying to bait Bruce Arians into allowing Brady to make some ill-advised throws.
Yep.
But to the Bucks offense's credit, to Byron Leftwich and Brady and Arians, they were like, we're just going to take what comes to us. If you're going to cut off the deep ball, we got a bunch of quick guys. We got Fournette who can knock into everybody. He's like a battering ram. And we're just going to play. We're going to shorten the field. We're just play the short passes and little slants and little runs and draws and everything. And eventually it'll open things up. And then we get our big plays. And as always, when Gronk is in full, has the full asset of all his powers and all his magic. I mean, he's still always the hardest guy to cover because he's so huge and he's such a big target. And he and Brady obviously have like a psychic connection, and it just doesn't matter. He always knows where to be, and Brady always knows how to get him the ball. And because they've been clearly humming for the last few weeks, you could just tell like they're getting more and more comfortable as the weeks moved on in the season, that they peaked at exactly the right time. It was like, this is the Gronk and Brady that has killed thousands of teams over the thousands of players over the last 10 years, just breaking hearts left and right. So I mean, I think Spagnuolo, I had the right idea to begin with, but it's just the Bucks showed that they can win in so many different ways, and they just were better about being patient and being like, okay, you know what, we'll play it this way, and maybe it won't be quite the same exciting highlight reel as deep passes, to speedy receivers. But we'll get the yards when we need them, and eventually things will soften up, and we'll be able to take it to them, and they won't be able to stop it.
Yeah. So Fadhil, do you think Chiefs offense are starting to get more easily readable because Mahomes, for me, Mahomes playing like this. He took the snap, dropped back, and he ran left, right, and then Kelsey or Hill will follow where he goes, and then he will throw the ball. Do you think it's now predictable, Chiefs offense?
I don't think so. I don't think so
Okay.
because we talk about how they came out in third quarters after the halftime, right? I think they had elements to be different. It's just I think at that point of the game, they didn't have any choice. They had to score quickly because they were down a lot of points, so they have to keep doing what they weren't able to do all the first half long, because I think they ran the ball pretty well to start the third quarter. I think they were getting kind of a little bit of traction, but when it came to the red zone, I think Bucks defended pretty well because they always rely on like misdirections. It's either Hill running left and right, and then all of a sudden Kelsey is in the middle, he's wide open, or it's like a sweep pass quick to the outside, and then relying on Hill making people miss. I think they don't. One of the facets of the game that they don't particularly do well is like having or winning 50-50 balls, because even Kelsey get bodied a lot. They don't have that big body target, the traditional like X receiver. They don't have that. So for me, at least, that's one of the things that maybe they need to get a little bit better at. Maybe they need to draft somebody. And then, I don't necessarily think they weren't able to run. I think it was just, early on, they didn't make that kind of choice. They kind of just want to do what they do best, which is pass the ball. And they weren't able to do that. I think Andy Reid deserves some of the blame. He got a little bit, I think he gets a little bit, close-minded. I think he adjusts a little bit late. If he just something like second quarter, he started running the ball, how he ran the ball in the third quarter, I think it would be a little bit closer of the game. But I think when they got both of their tackles back, they got their guard back, I think they got, okay O-line. It's not like world beater or something, but I think, it's enough to contend, to win, in regular season. So I don't necessarily think, that their offense is kind of a little bit predictable as of now, but they have things that they are not able to do as of right now.
Oke. Nah, before we moving on, gue balik lagi ngomong bahasa Indonesia. Jangan lupa yang nonton di YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, dan Facebook, langsung aja tanya di live streaming, langsung aja tulis pertanyaannya. Nah, karena tadi gue udah dapat info dari dari Mimin at Amerika. Hadiahnya buat 3 pertanyaan yang menarik adalah topi. Nah, tuh kan. Masa nggak mau topi? Topi loh hadiahnya. Lumayan kan? Jadi udah kalau gitu langsung aja tanya, nggak usah malu-malu, langsung tanya. Nanti 3 pertanyaan yang menarik, hadiahnya topi loh. Jadi udah. Oke, moving on. Fel. Nah,
Yes.
now we are to Thufeil ya. Fel, so Brady, your ex QB,
My ex-quarterback. Yeah.
ex quarterback, and my ex wide receiver finally
Yes.
won
Antonio
the
Brown.
ring, Antonio.
Exactly. Antonio Brown, man.
And he made the touchdown. So
Yeah.
it's a bit bittersweet to me. Like,
Yeah.
why you made a touchdown with another team, but inside of my heart, finally you won the ring. Huh? Finally. But well, do you think Brady, with now he's 43 years old, playing in another team and another conference, 7 rings, is he the undisputed GOAT?
Well, Absolutely. I think the short answer is absolutely. He's the GOAT of American football. But I think in Brady's case, I think the discussion has elevated towards, is he the greatest athlete of all time? I think he's compared to the likes of, Pele, Usain Bolt, and Michael Phelps, Serena Williams, Roger Federer. I think that's what his atmosphere is now. And I think I think you said it, the craziest part about this, that he plays so well at age 43.
Yeah.
In a new team, a new coach, an offensive scheme that I would say completely different than he has in New England. A very aggressive offensive scheme, and he was one of the best deep thrower quarterbacks in the league right now, which is crazy if you think about it. It's crazy, man. And I just can't comprehend what. And the craziest part about this, I think that he's not stopping anytime soon. And he can keep coming back next year and the next year, and he just doesn't seem to show signs of slowing down. And I think what he's done right now is unprecedented, is uncharted territory.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind every time I watch him.
Because
for me, I read somewhere online they were mentioning it too, that if you split his career into two separate people, the first 10 years and then the last
10 years,
it's two Hall of Fame careers.
That is insane.
Guy is.
That's insane.
Cut off 10 years and he's still I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah. And when the trophy presentation, Jim Nantz, the CBS announcer, asked Tom Brady, will you coming back? Yes, we're coming back. Oh my God, not again. Please, no, stop it, Tom. Come on.
Break our hearts again.
And the great thing about this championship about Brady is I think this is the easiest Super Bowl that he has won.
To be honest, yes.
Compared to all of his New England days, which always decide on the last possession, and which involves always a crazy play, always a crazy game. I think he got this one off quite easy, and credit to the Tampa Bay defense as well. So I think Tom Brady, man, it's insane what he's doing.
So if I recap Tom Brady's Super Bowl performance, first Super Bowl he faced Rams and he needs Adam Vinatieri's help.
Yes, Adam Vinatieri last second field goal.
Yeah, and then 2003 he faced Panthers.
Carolina Panthers.
Panthers, and again
another game winning.
Another game winning
kick.
And then the next year, the first and last team to win Super Bowl back to back, he faced Eagles.
Philadelphia Eagles.
And again,
I think it was decided on the very last possession, last possessions of the game, although not game winning field goals like previous team.
And then
I think it was a failed onside kick.
Failed onside kick. Yeah. And then the unbeaten season, but
Eli Manning happened. And David Tyree happened.
The kryptonite. And then 2 years later or 3 years later, 42, 45, 33, 44. 3 years later, again he faced his kryptonite, and that
Eli Manning happened again.
Catch.
And
then Super Bowl 49, that Seahawks should have run the ball.
Malcolm Butler happened.
The Malcolm Butler happened. It at the very, very last seconds of the game. And then the blew the lead.
The 28-3 game. Against Atlanta Falcons.
So Falcons fans, come on. Oh man.
I know.
I don't understand
you. Keep triggering them every time.
To be honest,
fans, they just have to cry.
When the Chiefs is trailed, I think the score was 28-9. In my mind, I think, is it gonna be another comeback and by Mahomes? But the defense shut it down. It didn't happen, and the Bucs won.
And then the next year, he faced Eagles again, but
Nick Foles,
they got
Philly special.
Philly special. Then next year, he played at Super Bowl again against Rams, and he won with small scores, 13
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
three.
it's a
mostly
low
a
score.
Yeah, and then
defensive
he's
battle on that one. Yeah.
and finally yesterday, I think Super Bowl 55 was the easiest Tom Brady
Yeah,
Super Bowl win.
by a
Yeah,
mile, I think.
by mile, yeah.
Yeah, Brady, I think, played like a completely different game
Yeah.
compared to Mahomes. Like
Yeah.
Mahomes was running around, getting chased by Tampa defenders, and Brady just sitting there and making his reads, making his throws. I think there was a stat that says that Tom Brady was pressured the least in the history of Super Bowl quarterbacks, and
Really?
Pat Mahomes was pressured the most in the history of the Super Bowl.
Yeah. For
Yeah.
Mahomes part, I read the stats. He was pressured 29 times.
Yeah, he ran like 493
Yeah,
yards
He
before he threw
yeah.
fast.
He ran back like like playing Madden 497. Oh my
Exactly.
god.
That is crazy. That is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So Fadhil, Ohio, if you want to rate the Brady's performance at Super Bowl, where do you put his performance Super Bowl 55 compared to his 10 Super Bowl appearance?
You want to rank it as what he did, the outcome, or
What he did. What he did. What he did.
because I think I was agreeing with Thufeil. He wasn't getting much pressure, so I can't necessarily say that it was his best. The outcome,
Mhm.
it was absolutely the best. He was throwing touchdown left and right and whatnot. But I think this was just kind of like routine. You know what I'm saying?
A routine. Okay.
No, there was no pressure. I was, there was a video coming out. I think it was Bunting or
San
someone.
Murphy Bunting. Yeah.
Yeah, they were celebrating in the locker room.
Oh yeah, I know
yeah,
that.
I saw that.
I know that.
Brady, and then he was packing his bags.
Yeah, because just another day at the office.
Right, yeah.
Max.
I mean, he could have, honestly, he had so much time back there. He could have had an espresso,
Exactly.
Noppy in the back,
Yeah.
drinking coffee, and
He's in the locker
and
room
he
like
still had plenty of time. I mean, it was wild.
he's in the locker room. He's like, what? No big deal. I just won another Super Bowl. You know what? Let's just
Yeah.
go home.
Just go
No
home,
big deal.
Yeah, I mean, his kids, it's like visiting grandma's house for them.
Yeah.
Being on the Super Bowl stage.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like every year, it's like, oh, we got to go hang out with Daddy on the stage in front of 2 billion TV viewers again.
Yeah. Like
Nothing's changed for me.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, Daddy plays another game, and we will bring home that silver trophy. Just another day at the office. Yeah.
The two people who were not in Tampa, who are NFL players who had the best weekend, are still then Nick Foles and Eli Manning.
Yeah.
They still have that.
Yeah.
They'll be like, we're the only ones who did it.
But for like Brady haters, they have to thank Eli and Nick Foles, because if they didn't beat Brady will get his 10th ring right now. Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so for Mahomes, Fadhil, do you think this is a valuable lesson for him for future? Because I heard from Jim Nance that his toe is still a bit kind of giving some bad impact to his performance. But do you think this is a valuable lesson for him?
Well, I think, at least from my perspective, what I view in the game, what I see in the game, it doesn't necessarily bother him a little bit. He kind of, look at his toe a little bit, and he kind of walk his funny walk a little bit.
Yeah, that funny walk. Yeah, I know.
I heard that before the game, one of the Bucks coaches said to their players, don't believe that. He's fine.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
Robert Saleh said that. I remember Robert Saleh.
Yeah.
Robert Saleh.
Because that's part of the acting. I think now the defensive line kind of feel bad for him. Is he injured? Should I hit him hard or not? But for me, I think one of the things that I saw during the game was Brady coming out, I think it was out of timeout or something. And then Brady coming out, the sideline was giving him plays or whatnot. And then Brady said, no, we're fine.
Yeah. I watched that. No. And then when he threw the ball, he made defensive pass interference. Like, oh my God, Brady, you are.
No, because at least for me, the next level for Mahomes is like having an ownership towards the offense.
Yeah.
I think he was fantastic within the scheme, but now I think we kind of view him as he's an MVP already. He's a veteran right now. He should be leading the Chiefs offense. So for me, now you should have that kind of feedback. You know, what should they do? You know, it don't always rely on Andy Reid. He's obviously a great player, but there's a lot of, you know, his spectacular plays, you know, people were like wide open. Now, if they're not wide open, what do you like? You know, what do you want to do? I think that's the next step for Mahomes. I don't necessarily think he played bad. I think he played fantastic. You know, he was jumping left and right. He was side-arming throws left and right. And for his credit, you know, those throws were on point. You know, you kind of, you know, we kind of talked about this, you know, before. Like, 2 of the balls were touchdown, were, you know, hitting the receivers like in the face mask. So he was still accurate. He was still making plays despite, you know, all the things happen. If there is a takeaway of the game, I think he might want to restructure his contract a little bit because he saw what Brady has, right? He saw like all the offensive line. You know, I don't have to run around. I can just sit back there, you know, use his super big flexed arm, you know, throw deep touchdowns. You know, Brady has this, like Thufeil said, Brady has his easiest game in the Super Bowl. So we might see Mahomes saying, like, I want that. I want having a great offensive line. I want to have, you know, big target, you know, in the red zone. So I can just throw a touchdown. You know, I don't have to do it all by himself. So I don't know. We might see him, you know, restructure his contract because his contract down the line, you know, after 2-3 years, his cap hits, you know, hits a little bit more, and then, you know, now he's decimated with injuries, right? Up south, you know, injuries left and right. His all line is gone. When his contract hits, that's going to happen every other year. We don't know. So that's my takeaway from like Mahomes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I would say too, an important lesson for him in this is that, I mean, clearly he's overwhelmingly one of the best athletes, pure athletes on an NFL field, but just that he's going to have to learn to rely a little bit less on just the pure talent. Like you were saying, like take ownership of the offense, maybe a little bit more, you know, kind of traditional pocket stuff. Because I mean, it's great when you can run around like that, but those skills always deteriorate as you get older. And then you want to have a skill set that stays like how Brady is, right? Where you could be ageless, because since he's not running around, he's not taking hits. But his arm still has the strength, and he's got the savvy to know exactly where to put the ball all the time. That's sort of the next step in my mind too, is that, like, you know, because there was a lot of plays, not just in the Super Bowl, but just this season, even more than in previous seasons, where he's just trying so desperately to keep the play alive that he gets sacked, you know, 30 yards behind the line. And, you know, you can get away with that every once in a while, but you start doing that too much, it really it's going to kill your offense. So, you know, just learning, hey, I can throw the ball away. It's fine. It's all right to just, let me just throw this out of bounds. We'll regroup. We'll get them next play.
Okay. So, Fadhil, if you pick one player that is suitable for MVP, beside if it's not Tom Brady, other than Tom Brady, who do you think is suitable enough?
I think, you know, we know before coming into the game, you know, we know the Chiefs defense had a little bit of trouble stopping the run. You know, the run game kind of, you know, is there for Bucks. So one of the biggest changes that we see is, we never saw the Chiefs offense get stopped like this. So it got to be some of the players from the Bucks defense. My pick personally is either Thufeil or Levante David, because I think Thufeil's presence was huge. The pocket was not there at all. But like there was no place for Mahomes to step up. I mean, like early on, the edge kind of, gets around the tackles, but he can step up a little bit just fine. But when Villa is pushing those centers and guards to Mahomes' lap, he can't go anywhere. So it's him or Levante David, because I think he was fantastic. He was, running up and down the field. I think Devin White made more splashier plays.
Yeah.
It's like the tackles, it's like his, we saw him, running really fast, left and right. But my pick personally is Levante David. He played a fantastic game. I think a couple of Kelsey drop, he was on coverage. He was bothering Kelsey all day long. So either Thufeil or Levante David for me.
Thufeil or the Levante David. Okay. Mark, what do you think?
I got to agree. I mean, the defensive line, the edge rushers were fantastic. Shaquille and what's his name? Shoot, now my brain.
JPP.
Thank you. Yeah,
JPP.
Yeah, I mean they were obviously monsters too, and just they put their foot on the Chiefs' throat and just kept pushing and didn't let up, and that was pretty impressive. But I got to agree with Fadhil. I think Levante David, absolutely, and just really impressed. I mean, it reminded me. It was odd watching a game where the offenses were so hyped, and then seeing the Bucks defense play like those Bucks defenses from the late '90s, early 2000s. The Derek Brooks and the Dexter Jackson, the Warren Sapps.
John Lynch.
I mean, that was. I mean, last day, especially with the safety playing deep like that, it's like, that's like John Lynch just launching himself into people from outer space. But I mean, it was just that it was actually quite cool. It was like, oh yeah, it's a little bit of a throwback to an earlier Buccaneers, great Buccaneers team. So I thought I was pretty impressed by that. Yeah.
Okay, so Super Bowl. Super Bowl is not about the match. Well, Super Bowl, as people know, there are two events that people always watch. First is halftime show. The second is the ads. So, Thufeil,
Yes.
the halftime show, the
Yeah.
weekend. What do you think? The weekend.
First of all, I think it's fitting the weekend played on the weekend.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
The Weeknd is one of my favorite artists, and I came into the game with pretty high expectations from him, and I think he delivered. I think he brings out that bombastic, that festivities that we used to have in watching halftime Super Bowl. At first, I was surprised that he performed like not in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
You're not going to use the middle of it. But then he came into the field with all of his lookalikes and he danced on the field. I think it's pretty great. And the songs that he's played, like he played all of the major hits.
Yep.
I personally would love to hear some of his old songs, but that's just me personally. But I think overall it was a good show. And I think I read a report that he put his own money.
Yeah, $7 million.
Into this, like $7 million of his own
wow.
money. Yeah, and I think it went to the the decoration, I think, and all the choirs that sings in the beginning.
Probably.
But if we can compare it to like the previous halftime shows and the Super Bowl, although it was a good performance, I don't think it matched the overall bombasticness of like say Beyonce or maybe from last year in Shakira and Jennifer Lopez.
Yep.
That is electric. That was electric show. But for the weekend, personally, I feel entertained, and I think overall it was a good show.
Do you think because of limited attendance affect the the excitement of.
Oh yeah. That clearly plays a part, and I think the Weeknd capitalizes on that by switching to his. I think after he played one or two of the songs, he switched into like the backstage, and the camera turned into his exactly in front of his face, and which turned into an internet meme.
Ah, that meme.
Yeah,
I know.
he walked around in the middle of glass room. I think he realized that. Oh, I think the main audience of this show is like people on TV. Not the audience on the stadiums. And I think the Weeknd realized that and capitalizes that so great. So I do think that played a part, that it's not as exciting as regular Super Bowl with full fans, but he did a good job amidst all of the things that are happening right now.
Yeah. What I liked about it was, I mean, the Weeknd, one of his best sort of qualities is he's always been a bit eccentric, a bit quirky.
Yeah.
And very, he's a distinct individual as a performer on stage, and he really captured that. Because I know I had some friends who don't know anything about him and like, oh, that was so weird. Like, and I was like, oh, that's him.
Yeah.
Put his personality on the stage, and that's great. I mean, I was very entertaining, and I don't know a ton of his music, but I know the hits and stuff, and I thought he sounded great, and it was clear he was singing live for a lot of it, not lip syncing so much, and that was great too. I always think it's just cooler when performers are willing to take the risk and sing live in something this big. So
we live in internet, so we have to discuss a bit about that meme. That meme when he entered the classroom and he's like finding he's confused. Well, did you get dizzy after that? The Weeknd sing the "Can't Feel My Face" when he grabbed the camera, and then all of the dancers are starting to like moshing a concert like that.
Yeah, I think I was taken aback quite a bit actually when he switched to that front-facing camera. And I was very entertained by the memes in the social media that came out using that picture, using that video. And I think that's just the Weeknd, realizing the situation and just capturing the moment that, you know what, I'm going to use this platform and I'm going to blow up the internet. And the use of his lookalikes and with the accessories of, they cover their faces as the song "Can't Feel My Face" is playing. I think it was a great touch by him. So I was very entertained by that meme.
And the dancer also wore the mask, so they still follow the protocol.
I was waiting for Adam Sandler, from Uncut Gems, from the movie Uncut Gems, to come out, but I was disappointed that he didn't come.
Well, so Mark, after you watch the halftime show, from 1 to 10, what do you think is the score?
I think I give it about 7.5.
7.5. Okay.
Yeah. Pretty good show. I mean, like you said, it's not sort of transcendent like the Prince halftime show or Beyonce. I mean, those were just unforgettable performances. But I think given the situation too, you have very limited fans, and there's just a lot of limitations on what you could do as a performer for this sort of strange time we live in. I thought he did a really good job. So I thought it was cool. I'd say like 7.5, 8, something like that.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask some fun question. For me, as my experience watching Super Bowl, especially Super Bowl halftime show, for me the best ever Super Bowl halftime show performance is Prince, of course, because he played guitar when it was rain, and the possibility of electricity of the guitar is pretty high, and the stage is pretty slippery, and he still managed to nail it. So for me it's Prince. So Thufeil, what do you think? What's your version of your best Super Bowl halftime show? So Mark. So what do you think, Mark?
Oh, yeah, I'd say probably Prince. I did really like the Shakira J-Lo one from last year.
Okay.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Mhm.
And then I'm trying to think of other recent ones that I liked a lot. I liked the Bruce Springsteen one. I mean, that was more traditional.
Bruce Springsteen. Yeah,
You know, he's mostly just the showman himself. He doesn't do a lot of fireworks and cool special effects, but that was pretty fun. Yeah, those are probably my favorite three.
Okay. Fadhil, what do you think your best halftime show performance?
I think the one that kind of hit me in the back of my head was the Prince one, because you mentioned it was raining, right? And that was outside of his control. So I think something certainly played a part and then made it great, because when you experience certain events, you can't just control everything. Something else had to play a part, and I think the rain was just the little touch that elevated that performance above everything else, because you can kind of construct everything, plan everything towards like the last minute details, but in reality, when you want to deliver a great performance, something else had to play the part. So I gave that Prince performance the best out of recent ones, I think.
Okay. So while we're waiting for Thufeil, Mark, another aspect of Super Bowl is you have to watch the ads.
Right.
But for me, this year's ads is really kind of bland, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I was a little surprised too. I would have thought they would take advantage of the fact that it was such a weird year and a tough year for a lot of people to have much lighter and kind of goofy stuff, or maybe even try something a little new. Since they'd be like, oh, what the heck, let's just try something weird because we're all stuck inside and we've been stuck inside for so many months anyway. But yeah, they really just they played it very safe and kind of bland. I did like the Shaggy Cheetos ad. One with Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, it wasn't me. I thought
it wasn't me when he it wasn't.
I thought that wasn't too bad. But yeah, overall, it was not a memorable year for commercials like some years.
Do you think it is because of pandemic? So, and I read the news that lots of company that are regular Super Bowl ads that are always put their ads at Super Bowl are pulling them. They are decided to not make the ads. Do you think the pandemic is one of the reasons?
I think maybe some companies felt they had to be a little more conservative with spending their money, since they thought, oh well, we don't know what the revenue is going to be. I did see a fun fact for all the Tom Brady fans out there, which showed the list of companies that had advertisements in Tom Brady's first Super Bowl versus now. And it's like Gateway Computers, Circuit City Electronics Store. I mean, it's all these companies that no longer exist. They've either been bought by bigger companies or merged. I think the only major company that advertised that's still around is Yahoo. And all 9 other major brands that spent the most on ads no longer around. It's like, that's how long he's been good. They don't even have the same companies in existence anymore.
Wow. Thufeil.
Yeah.
What do you think about this year's Super Bowl ads? For me, it's I said to Mark that kind of bland, like not exciting.
Yeah. First of all, sorry, my internet is
It's
going crazy.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I agree. Like this year's commercials, they don't have that same kind of punch, like the regular Super Bowl ads. We expect a lot actually from the Super Bowl commercial. We expect to actually laugh, but I think it was due to the pandemic, and it was I think that many brands like decided, are we actually okay like promoting our brands in the middle of this pandemic? So, and
Right.
I think there are brands too that decided, you know what, we're not gonna put up a spot on the Super Bowl. We're actually gonna donate the money, to the
Yeah,
essential
yeah.
services. I saw some brands did that, but yeah, this year's commercials doesn't have that same punch.
Mhm.
There are some things that are good. I actually like that State Farm commercial
Mhm.
where they are Drake, and
Oh yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
they're Drake as a State Farm
Yeah.
agent. Yeah,
Yes,
I love that. Yeah, and then I like the Doritos one
Oh,
where they're
Doritos, yeah.
Matthew McConaughey as a flat. Because Doritos is
Yeah.
promoting their 3D chips.
Right.
Yeah, there are things that I like, and I think this year's commercial was also dominated by like movie trailers and
Oh.
promotions from a streaming service, and yeah, this doesn't have that same feel from the previous Super Bowl.
Okay, okay. So, Dil, what do you think
For
about
me,
ads?
ads is always, as a sport enthusiast, ads is always kind of get a little bit repeatable, when you kind of watch it, over and over.
Mhm.
So I like when there's new ads,
Mhm.
but for me, it has to have that kind of punch. So I agree with both Mark and Thufeil. I think, you saw like one ad, and then, when the next break came, next ad coming in. But when it's the same, you kind of like, again, this thing again.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
when I had that kind of reaction, it means that, maybe you should only show it once, and it has to be bombastic. You know what I'm saying? It has to have a really big punch. Maybe just once during, before or after the halftime show. I don't know. But when the same ads kind of kept coming, and I thought like, yeah, it's just ads. So
Mm.
that's the kind of feel that I get, as a, somebody who, you know, watch sports, it's like, yeah, it's the same company, it's the same kind of ad. So, right, I don't necessarily felt like, oh, yeah, this is good ads.
Okay, okay. So, because we already discussed a lot of Super Bowl 55 from start to finish, and because now I check that, wow, lots of people wanna ask to a lot of question to us, but like I said earlier, that I will pick three most interesting question that will win prize. So we are entering the Q&A session, eh? Okay, so the first question that I choose is from. Oh, okay. It's from LX Forever. Okay, he asked from Instagram Live. So if, wow, the question is pretty bold take. So if Tom Brady looking for 10 rings, wow, do you think Buccaneers will be the next dynasty? Well, Tom Brady's contract is the next year is his last contract, but who knows? Maybe Buccaneers wanna extend the contract, right, with more money. But if Tom Brady looking for 10 rings, do you think Buccaneers will be the next dynasty? Fadhil?
Um, I think it can. I think like the Super Bowl, we usually talk about Super Bowl window, right? There is a certain time when, the team just kind of felt like, yeah, we're going to contend and we're going to put as much resources we have to win the Super Bowl. And I think, the Bucks right now is in the Super Bowl window. Brady is still playing great. They had a lot of fantastic rookies. I mean, like their whole secondary, I think, was
Yeah, yeah.
just recently like a first and second year
Junior,
player.
that kid.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So they're really young on the on the defensive side of the ball, the secondary. They have some other vets. They have contracts that they didn't talk about. Gronks, AB, JPP, Shaq Barrett. He commands like an edge rusher money. So
Yep.
there's a couple of things they need to sort out. But
Right.
I think like this is their time. I think like Brady probably can play like 3-4 years. And while he's still playing, because we know he's still playing great, right?
Yeah,
He's
I
still
know.
playing all around.
Yeah.
I think they have a window, the next 3-4 years, maybe slightly less than that. Depends on how Brady feels, of course. Like 2-3 years at least from now, they're contenders. We have to take them seriously at least.
Okay. Mark, what do you think? Do you think Buccaneers will be the next dynasty if Tom Brady looking for?
I think they have a great shot as long as they stay healthy. Because I think the big thing too is the NFC. I think is wide open because you've got. I think you see Aaron Rodgers played out of his mind this year, but they clearly have a ceiling. I don't know that they'll ever be able to like. I mean, his record in NFC championships speaks for itself. It unfortunately for him, I don't know that they can quite get over the hump. Drew Brees is going to retire most likely, so the Saints, that takes them out of the equation. Seattle is all over the place. I mean, one week they look like they could beat anybody, and then the next week they score 3 points, and Russ cooks himself 4 interceptions, in like one quarter. So it's hard to know with them. With the Rams, maybe Stafford is the answer, but who knows, right? I mean, he could be, but it could be just he's empty statistics, and it just covered up the fact that they thought it was the team around him when in fact maybe it was Stafford himself. I mean, I hope for his sake, because he's a fun guy to watch, that it works out for him, but who knows? So I feel like the NFC is theirs for the taking for sure. Because the better conference overall is still the AFC. And so now that he doesn't have to go through your Steelers, go through the Chiefs during an earlier round in the playoffs, have to deal with Derrick Henry and the Titans all the time, it's just a much clearer path. I could see them winning at least one more, if not even more than that.
Okay. So next is what? Hold up, because Raviandra Putra Andika. Okay, for everyone, Chiefs played with 2.3% of dropbacks with backup offensive tackle. Okay, knowing the talent of Bucks pass rusher, why the Chiefs didn't add more men to their pass protection? Why, Fadhil?
Yeah, I mean that was my question too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's never fun to have to deal max protect because you don't get to do all your exciting offensive gimmicks. But like Fadhil said, sometimes Andy Reid is his own worst enemy, and he sort of falls in love with his own scheme too much and fails to make the adjustments necessary. And he should have been able to see earlier enough that we like Mahomes is just getting killed back here. We need to protect him a little more. Let's change this up a little bit, and make some adjustments. And they just couldn't do it. But at least that's how I saw it.
What do you think?
Well, for me, I think that's just not what they do. In that offense, they don't necessarily use 2 tight ends. Play under center. That's not them. So I think but when I saw my own team, the Cleveland Browns, they were under center. Run the football. They were able to kind of change up a little bit. On the playoff. So I think as an offense, you have to have that, second form, if we can say what it is, when it came to the playoff, when it came to the big game, you got to have something else, like we say about, the Bucks defense, early on, they played like man coverage, single high, Super Bowl, zone, 2 high safeties. So I think one of the things that we talked about this before, like that X receiver, that big-bodied receiver, or that second tight end, I think it might be a personnel issue. They don't have anybody outside Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, to be honest. Like we know they had Sammy Watkins, but I think it's past his prime, quote unquote, to rely on him. So maybe, it's not as much as Andy Reid being stubborn. I think it might be, that they don't have nobodies. You know what I'm saying? So it might be that, but who knows?
That's a good point, actually. I hadn't thought of that. And I think it was fitting then, talking about a big-bodied receiver who could just go up and get everything, that Calvin Johnson was inducted into the Hall of Fame this weekend. I mean, if the Chiefs had somebody like that, like a Megatron, who could just catch anything and just knock everybody over, it'd be unstoppable.
Dominating. Yeah. Okay. So, Raviandra, congrats, you got your hat finally, yeah. And then next, this is from Ken Kira, yeah. Okay, so for everyone, before Super Bowl 55 matchup, a lot of people said that the matchup between Mahomes and Brady gonna be the best matchup in Super Bowl history. Even the chart before even they say that this matchup beats between Montana versus Marino. I think Super Bowl Dolphins versus then. But after the game, I think everyone so upset with the matchup. The question is, where do you put the matchup of Super Bowl 55? Is it great, good, average, or bad? And why, Thufeil?
Well, for me, I think the matchup itself is good for me because you have that narrative, you have that storyline, which was the GOAT versus the next GOAT, and then, but I think what brings down that narrative, what brings down that matchup, I think is just the discrepancy on what happens on the field. Like the Bucs defense just completely dominated Kansas City Chiefs offensive lines, that it actually makes what Mahomes did actually don't matter. Like, you actually make Patrick Mahomes look like a human, look like mere mortals. That's what makes the matchup, I think, pretty watered down, I think. And it's not the fault of like Mahomes and Brady. I think it's just what happens when you play with two backup tackles and one bad foot, like Patrick Mahomes. Any quarterback will play like that. I agree with Fadhil. Mahomes actually played a very fantastic game. He kept his team afloat. He was jumping left and right, throwing this and that. But that's just what happens when you met a completely dominating force on the defense, and your offensive line just can't hold up. Any quarterback will fail.
Okay. Mark, what do you think? Because you watch NFL for a long time. So what do you think of this matchup between Mahomes and Brady compared to other QB matchup that has?
There's definitely a part of me that wants to go back in time to Saturday and maybe edit out some of what we said on our YouTube pregame show, where we talked about the matchup and how good it was going to be, so that I could sound more like a good fortune teller, because I clearly bought into the hype. I thought it was going to be an electric offensive game too. I think the way to think of it is it was really more just a coronation, of the emperor of the galaxy, Tom Brady. It was just a show to show how good he is and how much better he is than everybody else who's ever played this game. So in that sense, it was an important Super Bowl because it was just sort of awe-inspiring to be like, my goodness, he's doing it again. I think, in terms of compared to other Super Bowls, pretty, I'd say average. For when I was growing up, it was always, one of the reasons the advertisements got so famous in Super Bowls was because they had maybe like 10 Super Bowls in a row that were just boring games, like just result after result that wasn't close. And so because of that, people focused on the halftime show and the commercials and other things that were going on, because it was just not exciting enough for the actual drama of the game. So it was almost like a throwback to that style of Super Bowl, of just one team just peaking at the right time and another team just seeming like they just weren't quite ready for whatever reasons, backup offensive line, or just a little bit off rhythm, and it just didn't quite gel. So, and I do want to apologize to Fadhil. I forgot to mention your Browns being a factor in the AFC over the next few years. I mean, wow, that team, it's pretty impressive. For my college football team, it's University of Oklahoma. So I do love Baker Mayfield a lot.
Okay.
So when he succeeds, it makes me happy. And so I'm hoping they do some damage in the league over the next few years, because they're a fun team to watch.
Okay. So Ken Kira, for your question, congrats, you got your door prize, eh? And last but not least, now this question is about the halftime show, but I think this is pretty interesting too, because from Jules T to everyone, the weekend built a stage where people normally are sitting at, instead of having a stage on the field. Yeah, like we already witnessed yesterday.
Yeah.
Do you think we will see similar things happening in future halftime shows? And because this pandemic still not over yet, so do you think this the weekend performance will we see it for the next year's halftime show, Thufeil?
In terms of like stage arrangement and seating arrangement, yeah, I don't think that was like the the main takeaway from that performance. I don't think other performers would say like, hey, I like what the Weeknd says. Yeah, I don't think they will say that, because I think the better Super Bowl performance is when you have it in the middle of the field. Like you can capitalize all that space, all that field spaces with like dancers, choreographers, and other props that makes it much more interesting. And with what the Weeknd have, I think if you held it in that kind of arrangement, I think it limits in what you can do in terms of performance. I think it's by design too, because the Weeknd is not like that. Not that kind of performer. He's a singer mainly. The main quality is his voice, not his movement, not his performance. So I think it also depends on who the performers are, and I think if it was catered to like a more performance driven artist, I think they would choose in the middle of the field instead of that kind of arrangement that the Weeknd had.
Okay, so for the next halftime show, the show must be in the middle of the field again. Like
Yeah, I would prefer that. I would prefer that in having in the middle of the field.
Okay. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I could see them maybe incorporating elements of it. Like maybe you start the show from one of the stands, not build a stage there, but maybe have like the singer, or if it's a band, one of the band members kind of emerge from the stands and then go onto the field. But I think the excitement for a lot of the performance is getting to be in the middle of that stadium, with everybody all around and the fireworks coming up sort of 360 degrees all around them. So I have a feeling when they are allowed to do something like that again, that they'll probably go back to that. But yeah, you could see maybe elements of that, and I could see something like maybe using grabbing the camera and sort of running around with it on stage and switching to that. That seemed to make people that love that, like with the memes, but just in general, they found that pretty entertaining. You could see maybe like a guy grabbing the camera and doing that for 30 seconds or something during a song, even from the middle of the stage, just to kind of shake things up a bit.
Okay. So for Jules T, congrats, you won the door prize. So that's the Q&A. For closing, I want to ask to three of you some like fun prediction. So Mark, do you think next year Buccaneers will repeat, or maybe another new champion?
I'm gonna say definitely they'll make it back to the Super Bowl.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm gonna put it down as a marker right now. I mean, I would love for that not to happen, because I have another team I much prefer. But I think it's just inevitable. everything is clicking into place. And yeah, I mean, their biggest problem this year was the Saints. And they flew that dragon in the playoffs. And then with Drew Brees not there, I don't think you can do the same things in New Orleans with Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston. So I feel like they're not going to be in the picture. And I don't know how Aaron Rodgers can have another year like he had. I feel like that level of insanely good performance is not necessarily sustainable because it was just so good. Especially if he's not getting along with the coach who's making offensive calls.
Yeah.
So that may cause problems. I'd love to say that my Cowboys will have figured everything out, but there's no way that's going to happen. We all know that's not true.
Oh yeah, speaking of Cowboys, what do you think? What's your prediction of Cowboys?
I don't even know. If we can, I don't even know what to say. It's just too terrible. I just want a defense that doesn't surrender 45 points a game. If we could just be an average defense, that's all I care about at this point. It's just so humiliating every week.
So, Fadhil, what do you think for next season prediction?
I think what Mark mentioned was absolutely spot on as far as NFC goes, because I think, you know, when you kind of look around, you know, there's nobody's really there. You know, when we think about contenders in the NFC, we usually talk about the Saints, you know, the Rams, maybe. Both of them are going to have new quarterback this year. That's always, you know, well, when the quarterback is not Tom Brady, you know, weird things happen. Tom Brady is the exception, and I think like the rest of the playing field, maybe, you know, we don't know like what's going to happen next year with Rodgers. You know, as Mark mentioned as well, you know, he had an unbelievable year. You know, I do believe it's a little bit more sustainable than that, but you know, to repeat an MVP performance, it's not easy. As far as the AFC goes, you know, I would like for my Browns to be a little bit better. You know, we've been to the playoff this year, so the next step might be, you know, becoming a contender and then challenging. Because as of right now, you know, as much as I hate it, you know, to say it, you know, Chiefs are the teams to beat in the AFC. Mm-hmm. And whatever, you know, other teams are doing this year, you know, it's to beat the Chiefs. And when you saw what the Bucks did, maybe, you know, everybody kind of likes that and wanted to kind of replicate those kind of things that they do in the Bucks. So, but as of right now, I think there is a clear gap between the Chiefs and the rest of the AFC. I think not a lot of teams had, you know, the kind of defense that the Bucs just, you know, just put on the Super Bowl. So I don't know. As far as prediction goes, I still think like the Bucs and then the Chiefs are you know, the top of like both conference. So there's that.
Okay. Phil, what do you think for next season?
Well, yeah, I think as of now, that Bucks and the Chiefs are like the two best teams in the league right now. But for me personally, of course, I would love to see the Patriots back to the Super Bowl and face Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
Oh,
like, imagine what is the narrative? Imagine the hype. Imagine the ratings that they're gonna obtain. That would be crazy. That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Who knows if Patriots can get a good quarterback? And they got some players returning next seasons. They have a lot of cap space. Who knows? And the Bill Belichick versus Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Who's going to say no to that, man?
Oh, yeah, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to get Deshaun Watson?
Oh, that's the...
No, I don't think. As much as I want Watson to go to the Pats, I don't think that's like a very Patriots move. They rarely do things like that. Rarely do swings for the fences. So yeah, I don't think Watson's going to the Patriots.
And speaking of Brady, I read Patriots next season schedule, and Patriots will host Brady.
Oh
my, yeah. Patriots will host Brady at.
Mark that on the calendar.
How's that Brady
Stadium?
built?
Oh my!
How's that
God.
Brady built?
Yeah, this matchup gonna be wow.
It's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be crazy. Maybe Patriots will give some tribute video to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brady. Of course, yeah.
I just want to see Bill Belichick's face when he sees Tom Brady again.
Yeah.
That would be nice. That would be
especially after the match
in the middle of the field. That's the question.
Yeah. Will they shake hands? Yeah.
Okay, so that's it. The Super Bowl 55 review. Thank you, Mark, as usual, for
Thank you
joining
guys so
us.
much.
Yeah, and for the OGs, Fadhil and Thufeil, thank you.
Hey, my
so
pleasure.
much
My pleasure, man.
For come back and talking again about Super Bowl and NFL. And thank you for all of you who are watching from at America's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Dan gue langsung lanjut ke bahasa Indonesia. Jangan lupa tetap walaupun udah libur season masih ada berita-berita NFL. Apalagi sekarang musim ini QB carousel-nya lagi gila kan. Kayak Watson, yang terbaru Russell Wilson katanya udah mulai frustasi sama Seahawks. Nah, itu. Jadi off season nih market QB lagi gila-gilaan. Apalagi kemarin kan kayak Stafford sama Goff trade itu. Nah, jadi kita tunggu aja kemana Watson pergi, kemana QB-QB lain juga pergi ya. Jadi yaudah, thank you banget yang udah nonton. Dan jangan lupa kalau mau join sama fans NFL di Indonesia, jangan lupa follow Instagram NFL Fans Indonesia @NFL Fans Indo, Twitternya juga sama @NFL Fans Indo, di YouTube-nya kita punya YouTube NFL Fans Indonesia. Jangan lupa subscribe, klik lonceng sambil subscribe. Kalau kalian punya line, langsung aja ke line open chat, tulis NFL Fans Indonesia, langsung ngobrol-ngobrol aja sama kita semua NFL di semua fans NFL di Indonesia. Jadi yaudah, kalau gitu, thank you banget yang udah nonton. Gue balikin lagi ke James at America. Silakan, James.
Thank you so much to our speakers for today's session. Earlier in the event, we asked our audience members a question. True or false, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the first NFL team to play in the Super Bowl in their home stadium? And the correct answer to that is true. Super Bowl 55 was held in Raymond James Stadium, which is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' home stadium. Congratulations goes to Rafiandra Putra from YouTube for answering correctly. Thank you to everyone who has participated. Don't forget to tune in next time for another chance to get a shout out from us. I'd also like to remind our audience members of our iPhone 12 Pro giveaway. Now, if you'd like more information, feel free to visit our link at bit.ly/BHMExpress to find out on how to join this giveaway. Now, you may be wondering, how could I develop an awesome idea for a place like this? It's very easy. All you need to do is go to our website at www.atamerica.or.id, select create a program, and click collaborate with us. All event proposals coming to us will be reviewed, and your event might be featured here soon. You can also subscribe to our newsletter for all our weekly updates. That wraps this episode. It's been fun, but we have to say goodbye for now. Follow our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at @ATAmerica for all our fun contents, event updates, and so much more. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. My name is James, and I'll see you at the next At America TV episode. Goodbye.